Big 12 Media Days are upon us, and Sark and the players will be taking questions. Let's see what narratives and answers we can expect on day one. Joe Cook, managing editor at Inside Texas, will be on the ground at Big 12 Media Days asking questions and getting answers. And you should know by now, Inside Texas is your spot to stay locked in with all the team coverage. Subscribe to InsideTexas.com today. Link in the description. What can we expect from Sark and company as they prepare to take the stage? Without further ado, let's get into it. What's up, Joe? And the final Big 12 Media Days are about to start, and Texas usually gets the primetime spot on day 2, but we're actually day 1 this year. That could be tied to our impending departure. So how awkward do you expect the day to be knowing we're leaving the conference?
You have to remember about Big 12 Media Days that it's media days. So there's reporters and, TV stations from all over the Big 12 footprint, whether that be Morgantown and Pittsburgh or maybe Kansas City and Oklahoma City, that type of thing. So for the most part, it's not anybody with a lot of bitter feelings, but there's still a contingent that could show that, whenever they get a chance to ask Steve Sarkisian or some of the Texas players some questions about the SEC and departing, they may imprint a little bit of what they think into their question. But as far as, at large, Brett Yormark and Chris Del Conte and Jay Hartzell negotiated an exit like it was a business because they're businessmen. I don't think there's going to be any hard feelings there. There's going to be some questions about it for sure when Brett Yormark's on the stage. I'm sure that a lot of media members will try to ask Texas about leaving the Big 12 for the SEC despite a recent track record of not doing a whole lot in the Big 12. Awkward. I don't really know if it'll be that, but there will be some times when maybe some digs are tried to or attempted at landing. But overall, it's not going to be something Texas really worries about. A lot of media members may try to focus on the SEC and looking forward, but I think we've seen from players and coaches alike that there's a focus on this season and not what's going on in 2024.
Yeah, do you think there's actually any shot the media will get Sark to expand on his SEC thoughts?
He may say something like he always says. There's a pretty good playbook that Steve Sarkisian uses responding to questions. One of them has to do with, are you building for the SEC? He says, no, I'm basically building the best team I can. It's just that SEC teams seem to be built that way. Are you looking forward to it? Yeah, sure. Of course, it's great. But the Big 12 in 2023 is our goal. So he's got a pretty, like I said, a well-developed playbook as to how to handle questions regarding those topics. And I bet we see him used pretty frequently over the course of the next few days.
Well, and you know that playbook because you're always at the press conferences. As entrenched local media, what's Sark like at the pressers? He's not afraid to knock down a question if he feels the question is impure in intent. He also likes to keep things close to the vest if it's too game plan or strategy specific. So what's it like being in the room? Is he pretty chill or can it be adversarial at times?
Yeah, I think Steve Sarkisian's fair if you're fair. If you're asking a question trying to get a legitimate answer, he may not reveal state secrets, but he'll give you something and try to answer it as best he can without revealing too much information that he wants kept in house. If you ask about injuries, it's not going to really happen. He'll provide some updates, and that's something I'll definitely be looking for because some guys had some ailments at least over the course of the spring. But remember the Quinn Ewers saga last year? He did not provide any info and then went as far as to dress Quinn Ewers out for games and travel him for games where he wasn't even going to play. But if you ask a smart aleck question, he's going to call you out for it. He's done it in the past, and he won't give you anything if he thinks that you're not being forthright with him. But as far as like blowing up or anything like that, he's not going to have like a Mike Gundy moment. He's not going to have anything like that. That's not in his playbook, and I don't think it's been in his playbook for a while. But he is as genuine as he will give you as genuine a response as how genuine the question is. I think that's a good way to put it.
I agree with that. And it's also interesting that Texas was voted most likely to win the conference last week, and national fans will say Texas is always overhyped, but it's been a while since the media members picked Texas to win it all. So does Sark try to stoke expectations, or does he extinguish them with the regular "we're focused on one game at a time" coach speak?
Yeah, like you mentioned, that's the Big 12 media that voted Texas number one, and pretty overwhelmingly, even ahead of Kansas State and some other schools. Sark's not afraid of expectations. Over the course of May and June, when he made some speaking appearances, he said, "How great would it be for us to enter the Big 12 as champions and leave the Big 12 as champions?" He hasn't tried to, quell any notion that they're trying to win a Big 12 title. He wants that to be what his team is looking for. But he also has to, stick with his normal, process game by game things that he repeats with the media. One thing he did say over the course of the Texas X's tour was, "How nice would it be if we played 2 games in Houston?" And that's not just referencing playing the U of H at TDECU Stadium, playing the Cougars. That's referencing making the college football playoff national championship game. So he's not afraid to levy high expectations and mention those types of expectations, but I think that's because he has it for the team himself. We've basically heard from him a lot of really positive just news throughout the offseason because he really believes in this team, whether it was on the Pivot podcast or Always College Football or, with the Texas X's. It's been a lot of positivity. And I remember asking him about that. Fans have a high expectation this year because of a lot of what you've said. Are you good with that? He's like, "I welcome that. I wouldn't have said it if I didn't have high expectations too. And I want our fans to have high expectations as well." So I don't know what exactly he'll say, but it's not like he's going to come in there and say, "You know what, we just be, happy with competing in November." He's going to be a little bit more direct and say, like, "We want to be in Arlington in December playing for that game, playing for that championship."
I do appreciate how Sark will actually say what goals he wants out of the season. And then what does the lineup say about the team leadership? We've got Quinn Ewers, Jordan Whittington, Jahdae Barron, Xavier Worthy, and Jalen Ford all representing the team on Wednesday. What can we glean from Sark choosing those guys specifically?
Yeah, Quinn, you got the starting quarterback. And Texas hasn't sent a starting quarterback to media days since Sam Ehlinger went in 2019. 2020 jacked with all that. Sam would have been there, of course, but still, that's what, 3 seasons, 4 seasons, or something like that. Still a long time. That shows that A, of course, he's the starter, but B, Steve Sarkisian has confidence in him to be able to speak and kind of be a face of the program to some extent. Xavier Worthy, I think it's real interesting that he's actually going because he had the up and down 2022 season. Still the most productive Longhorn receiver, still the guy that opposing defensive coordinators fear most, but became a polarizing figure for Texas fans, even though he's still a really darn good football player. And he doesn't talk a lot. His media opportunities hasn't had a lot of them. He's been a little tight-lipped during them. So I'm really excited to see what he says about just his Texas experience and getting ready for a bounce-back 2023 season. Jordan Whittington, Jahdae Barron, the 2 guys who are really great with the media, they like the spotlight. They're good at it. They're not intimidated by it. They know how to give the right answers and can also tell some pretty good stories. They're good storytellers. They're not afraid to, I don't want to say go off script, but not afraid to be themselves instead of just stick to a lot of the things that Texas encourages them to say. And then Jalen Ford, similar. He's a little bit quieter, at least in those settings, but he is a leader this year, especially after being named the conference's preseason Defensive Player of the Year. They're going to look to him. DeMarvin Overshone's not there. Keandre Coburn, Moro Ojimo, Anthony Cook. A lot of guys who are Deshaun Jameson, a lot of leadership figures on that team are not there this year. It's going to be on Jalen Ford to step into that role, at least on defense with Barron. And this will be a good way for him to kind of show what progress he's made, even after having a pretty good starting point as far as being a leader, being that voice on that side of the ball.
Yeah, it's an interesting group of guys to choose. And of course, don't give away your questions because it'll take away their punch when you ask them. But as someone who really knows this program inside and out, what are you most curious to learn about on Wednesday?
With Sark, I'm really curious as to how these summer off-season workout sessions have gone. Still only year 2 of that being around, and it was a way last year for them to really dive into the install, even with a good amount of new players on the roster before preseason camp started. So what progress has been made there? Maybe you always want to hear the guys who turned heads. That's always interesting. But as far as the specific deal, running back, that's huge this year. Bijan and Roshan are gone. There's four really talented backs who are probably vying for these snaps, and Jonathan Brooks, Keelan Robinson, CJ Baxter, and Jaden Blue. How's that going to shake out? Is there a name that I should have mentioned that, is going against maybe conventional wisdom as to who's competing there? I want to know that from Sarkisian, at least about his offense, is that running back position. Who's going to step up there? Quinn, you just want to hear about how he's leading the team, what he's doing, things he's done, not only to improve others around him, but to improve himself. And then on the field, is he more mechanically sound? He said his footwork slumped last year, just kind of going through a first-year problems that any freshman at any level of athletics or academics in college kind of goes through. I want to see what he's done to fix that. Xavier Worthy, obviously a lot has to do with that broken hand, how he's bouncing back from that. Jalen Ford, what's in store for this year? How is he going to make sure that whoever replaces DeMarvion Overshone is ready to step into those shoes? Jahdae Barron, what position will he end up at? Is he going to play a lot more corner, star, and how is he trying to improve this season? Then Jordan Whittington, why'd you come back? I know we had some time to talk with him over the spring, but this is going to be more opportunity to be able to sit down and hear from him. He's someone who had probably 3-and-out aspirations. Injuries changed that. So I'm really curious as to why he made the decision to come back to Texas and try to make it one more year in Austin.
Good stuff, Joe. Looking forward to hearing your questions at Media Days. Have a good time in Arlington. And let the fans know where they can read all your updates while you're there on the ground.
Yeah, head to InsideTexas.com. Best time to do it is right now. You get preseason camp notes. You get a bunch of recruiting info. Head there. Check me out on Twitter at JosephCook89 and check Inside Texas out pretty much anywhere at Inside Texas.
And that's a wrap on Joe Cook. Head over to Inside Texas and sign up today. Thanks for hanging out. Watch some more of my videos here. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you want to support quality Texas content. As always, hook on.